Warm greetings from the high 10. It is Everyday Shenanigans. Thanks for joining me on this chilly Thanksgiving morning. Hope you all are well. Happy Turkey Day to all celebrating. Please be safe this evening if you decide to venture out to shop, and this weekend up until Christmas. Thank you all so much for joining me. I did not intend to do a live, but due to the updates that I missed from yesterday, I was busy yesterday, so I want to catch up on everything before the holiday gets started. Please be safe, everybody. This is a two-part live pertaining to Leilani Simon. She's been denied bond. And Shanquella Robinson, there has been a warrant issued out of Mexico for the assailant. It's kind of hard to word because so much went on. Naturally, I wasn't there with this video that's been released. Two videos have been released allegedly pertaining to that incident that took place. Many are calling it basically a setup, a brutal murder of a young lady in a villa with her so-called friends. I'm going to bring you that set information, and then I'm going to check out of here. Thank you all so much for joining me. The first live is pertaining to Leilani Simon. Thank you.
Judge Joe Huffman presiding. Be seated and come to order.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, Judge.
All right, make sure my phone goes. Interrupts with a lot of microphones up here. Madam Clerk, we're going to call the first case. I don't need to read through the appearance information since we're going to deal with that case first. If you want to call that case.
Leilani Simon.
And for the record, this is Shannon County Recorder's Court. I'm trying to adjust all the microphones and stuff up here. Shannon County Recorder's Court, Joe Huffman, Judge Pro Tem at the moment, standing in for Chief Judge Tammy Stokes. We're here in the matter of State versus Leilani Simon, CRN 221005004. Ms. Moorhead, are you representing the state in this matter?
Yes, Your Honor.
And on behalf of Ms. Simon?
Attorney June Fogel with the Public Defender's Office. I represent Ms. Simon.
Good morning, counsel. So I see that Ms. Simon is not present on the screen. Are you waiving her presence today?
Presence and waiting of the charge.
Okay. Well, I'll wait. Well, formal reading of the charges. She is here charged before this court with murder, false before the crime, false statements, and concealing the death of another. We currently have a court date set before this court on January 11th, 2023 at 2 p.m. Ms. Fogel, are you going to be representing Ms. Simon going forward? Is that your understanding?
Public Defender's Office.
Okay.
Also, I understand that by statute, this court does not have jurisdiction to entertain a bond pursuant to 1761.
Yes, OCGA 1761. This court is not authorized to consider the issue of bond for charges, certain enumerated charges, murder being one of them. So you, on behalf of your client, may petition the Superior Court of Chatham County for consideration of bond. This court will not consider bond. Don't have the jurisdiction or authority to do so. But I will put down that there's a court hearing set for enter a plea of not guilty to the charges. Correct?
That's correct.
Court hearing January 11, 2023 at 2 p.m. with those charges indicated. Have you advised Ms. Simon of all the rights that she has pertaining to arraignment?
We've had it in-depth discussion.
Okay. Ms. Moore, anything else I need to consider on this matter?
No, Your Honor.
All right. So bond will be, technically bond is denied because I can't consider it, but is there anything else, Ms. Moorhead or Ms. Fogel, I need to consider before moving on?
No, Your Honor.
All right. So ladies and gentlemen, I literally just came out of here and sat on the bench, but I'm going to take a 7 minutes and 20 seconds break to allow those individuals who do not wish to remain. Now's the time to pack up and leave so I can proceed with the rest of the docket. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, everybody. That's the set information coming out of Savannah, Georgia, pertaining to Leilani Simon. That court could not consider bond, but her public defender can petition the Superior Court for bond for the defendant. As you heard in this commentary, she has pled not guilty. That is no shocker to many of us due to all the things we've seen pertaining to this case that has played out on social media, YouTube especially. She's a demon. She's a demon seed. She's a spawn. She's a spawn. no remorse, no nothing, just cotton. She's a stuffed bird full of cotton. There's nothing there. So we can't be shocked that she pled not guilty. I can't imagine what her defense is going to be. January will be her next court appointments. I will bring you that information when January arrives. God willing, I see January. Amen. And the rest of you in the viewing audience, I do hope for other arrests. As you've heard from Chief Hadley, they don't suspect any more arrests in this case, but I beg to differ. I do believe her bio donor, Billy Joe Howe, her husband, Mr. Howe, and any other participant in the house thereof around that knew of the child's death beforehand, during, and after should also be brought up on charges for arrest. That is my personal opinion. And I pray that the district attorney, the Department of Human Services will agree accordingly, because Billy Joe Howe did have custodial rights of the child 1 week before his death, which is very suspicious. Very suspicious. I'm going to bring you information pertaining to what led up to the arrest of Leilani Simon. Please listen to the information very carefully, because you will finally hear why search led to the landfill. For those who still can't seem to understand why Chief Hadley, the FBI, and other agencies were in the landfill searching for Quentin Simon. Thank you so much for joining me. If you'd like to donate to this great network, $ Big Angie, 129 Cash App. All stickers and chats are welcome during this live. Happy Thanksgiving to all of you. God bless all of you. Let's go over this court appearance and what led up to the search for Quentin Simon. Savannah Now is the source if you need verification. Know that this is a developing story. Leilani Simon, 22, the mother charged with malice murder in the death of her son, 20-month-old Quentin Simon, has been denied bond by Chatham County judge. Her first court appearance was scheduled for 11 a.m. on Wednesday, but Leilani Simon waived her right to a bond hearing, according to Brianna Jones at the Chatham County Detention Center. Simon has been held at the jail since being arrested by Chatham County Police on Monday afternoon after FBI analysts at headquarters in Quantico, Virginia, confirmed remains found at the Chatham County landfill on November 18th were human. FBI Supervisor Will Clark said in a press conference Monday evening that DNA testing would take about a week to confirm whether those remains are indeed Quentin's. Leilani Simon reported her son missing on October 5th, and within 3 hours, according to Chatham County Police Chief Jeff Hadley, FBI agents were on the scene leading a multi-agency effort to find Quentin Simon. Evidence gathered at the family's home on Burkhalter Road led investigators to weeks-long search at the Chatham County landfill. Let me repeat what I just said to you. Evidence gathered at the family's home on Burkhalter Road led investigators to a weeks-long search at the Chatham County landfill. We have a high level of confidence that those are Quentin's remains, said Hadley, who added that the discovery of the remains is a significant turning point in strengthening what he already believes to be a strong case. Repeat. Discovery of the remains is a significant turning point in strengthening what he already believes to be a strong case. Savannah Now is the source of this information. Happy holidays to everybody in the viewing audience. If you need verification for what I just read you, Savannah Now is the source. What is understood needs no explanation. Chief Hadley told you from day one that he believed that the child was deceased, discarded in a dumpster, and the dumpster taken to the landfill, and that his bio donor, Leilani Simon, was the culprit, the primary suspect. That never changed. He never deviated from that information up until this week when they brought down an arrest for Leilani Simon. Never deviated, never changed the script, never changed the story. You now have a source that tells you Evidence gathered at the house is what led to the search in the landfill. So what did they find at the house to lead to the search of a dumpster to the landfill? You see, we didn't know what they had. We still don't know what they have. Well, now they're giving you a little bit of tea. He's decided to drop a few breadcrumbs to say, we found something at the house. And that's what led us to the dumpster. And that's not including what else they have that led them to the dumpster, which led to the landfill. Common sense. Can't have one without the other. What evidence was left behind? Leilani, what did you leave behind at the house? You see, this is what happens with criminals. Some are meticulous and some are dumb. No one ever said that a criminal would be savvy to go without detection and apprehension. 50 ways to kill a human, 100 ways to get caught. Well, Leilani Simon, I do believe you fit in this category of the 100 ways of getting caught because you left a blueprint behind. What did you leave behind, Leilani Simon? Did you leave behind matter pertaining to the child, hair pertaining to the child, blood, any type of fluids from the human body of the child? Did you stupidly text anything via cell phone or any other apps on your devices to anybody else? Did you try to clean up and did a sloppy job using bleach, cleaning agents? Did you decide to try to put something into the washing machine? That is the very reason why day one you saw black trash bags put up to the windows outside of the home. They were conducting analysis inside of the house. It wasn't to keep out outsiders, protesters. That's not the FBI's job. They're there to work. They're not worrying about people riding by looking. Common sense should tell you they were working on the inside of the house, gathering information, evidence, such as spraying luminol inside of the said rooms. So Leilani Simon, I'm going to ask you directly. You probably can't hear the queen, but I'll just ask the question anyway. How did you kill your child? How did you kill your child? Did you use your hands? Because at his age, you really wouldn't need very much to murder a child. And this is very macabre, but I'm going to go out on a limb on this early Thanksgiving morning. How did you kill your child? What did you leave behind? Because this article says evidence from the house is what led them to the landfill. So therefore, you left behind something. You did something to the child, and thereafter, which led to this month-and-a-half search or month search of a child. Your child, the child that you had no regard for. You're an empty vessel, walking around breathing for free with no regard for your baby. And I would also say you had no regard for your other two children, because if you are brazen and sick enough to kill one, you would kill your other children. And you are not safe to roam around. And Chief Hatley gave you a pass by letting you walk around free for a month and a half. He gave you a pass. And it was a pass he shouldn't have given you. But as he said in his press conference, they have a way of doing things. Doesn't mean that we will agree with how Chief Hatley handled this situation of letting you be free. But grace of God, the child was discovered. Because I can't imagine another day going by, another week going by, you being free and people still searching the landfill. So kudos to those who searched for the child. All agencies, FBI, Sheriff's Office, Chatham County, Georgia Natural Resources, and the other FBI agents that came from around the United States. Thank you so very kindly. And also the fire department. If I'm leaving anybody out, pardon me. You left behind something at that house. And I am curious, naturally, to what it was, because people will leave behind things. And usually it's pertaining to the victim, naturally. Sloppy cleanup job. Old rags not thrown away or discarded properly, because 9 times out of 10 it was a rush job. You left behind possibly cleaning agents that weren't cleaned up, smear marks. Maybe you attempted to wash some clothes, wash your own clothes, wash cleaning rags. And it's a sick thing to think about because he was a human being. Although you did not value him, your mother and family members didn't value him and other children, but it's neither here nor there now. Thank you, Barb. This is a very sick and macabre situation. And we hear that you have been denied bond by this court because he can't render a bond for your charges. But your public defender can petition the Superior Court for a bond. 9 times out of 10, that Superior Court judge will not give you a bond under the circumstances of the charges levied against you. And you have at least 4 charges. And one of those charges you should have been arrested for immediately, which was filing a false report and making false statements, lying to officers. I do believe that should have been charge number 1, such as in the case with Megan Boswell. That was her original charge before they brought forth the murder charge of Evelyn Boswell. You should have been arrested on filing a false report. That could have held you in there until they found the remains of the child. But that's neither here nor there either. Grace to God, you are apprehended. You are in jail. And there is a court TV segment that aired, I believe it was yesterday, pertaining to the bio donor of her taking her in, which I do not believe is the truth. I could be wrong, but I don't believe Billy Joe took her anywhere because, as I told you in my last 2 lives, a reporter asked Chief Hadley about her turning herself in, and he said no, that was not an option. So therefore, I don't know what all this hoopla is about Billy Joel turning her in, because why would you need to turn someone in if you didn't know that they were going to be arrested? Bingo card. You got wind that a body or remains were found in the landfill on Friday. People talk, people gossip. Won't be surprised if they called you directly and told you, since you are the child's relatives, hi, we just called to let you know we believe we have found remains that are of your child. I won't doubt that they called and told them that, since they are living relatives, but also culprits in the child's death. Yes, I say that because they are. All of them. I blame them all. That's the sad information coming out of Savannah, Georgia, pertaining to Leilani Simon, arrested on murder charges, filing false report, lying, concealing the death of a human being, denied bond on Wednesday. Her public defender can petition the Superior Court for a bond. Next hearing is in January 2023. I will bring you that set information when it unfolds. But she's behind bars where she deserves to be. And I do believe her mother and stepfather should be in there with her on said charges of gross negligence, filing fake reports to gain custody of a said child or children, gross negligence of children. Those should be the said charges against Billy Joe Howell and Mr. Howell and anybody else in that house that had knowledge that the little boy was dead. The planning of the death, during the death, and after the death of Quentin Simon. Thank you for joining me. The next subject matter is pertaining to Shanquella Robinson. I did not want to talk about this story for the obvious reasons. It is too ratchet, unlike, well, let's say, like the other true crime stories I have brought to this channel, but it's too ratchet for my taste. When you start dealing with too many names, I get befuddled. And I don't like talking about stories that can get just winded. And this is one of those stories that is winded because, for one, it's too many people involved, too many names, too much gossip, too much is already gossip. See, it's just no different than this mess here with Quentin Simon, the Wells case, Cal City. They're all the same. Whenever you're dealing with ratchet people, you're going to get ratchet commentary from random strangers and the people involved in the story and people wanting to involve themselves, such as YouTubers, social media junkies. And I don't have that kind of time. It's the very reason why I didn't have an update yesterday pertaining to this bond, because I had a life and I had things I had to do. And I don't want to sit up and be trying to quote different names about Pookie, Ray, Bubba. And Shanquella's story is that's where it's at right now. What happened in that villa, I do not know. Video surveillance is, clips of somebody filming. I don't know if this was a setup of this girl, just young people being ignorant, wanting to film, two people arguing, three people arguing. I don't really know what the hell happened. But what I do know is that real friends would have never allowed these people to argue and fight in the first place. You all agreed to go out of town together. I'm assuming some of you knew each other. So what was the purpose in one, arguing with somebody to where it could turn violent? Two, another person deciding to film the altercations. If you really care about this young lady, any of you, you would have, one, broke up the fight. You would have told each other, hey, kill it. We're not here for this. My understanding that this incident took place less than 24 hours. So what was the altercation about? You hear somebody in the background, which is a male, stating to her, why don't you fight? But it's the way he said it is what bothered me. It was almost as if he didn't care if she fought her. Then somebody told me last night when I was out that was a transgender that beat her up. I don't know if that is true. See, you don't know what to believe. But 7 people or so going to a foreign country to stand and watch 2 people fight. Then allegedly they say another girl jumped in, and another clip of a live stream would make a person think that this was orchestrated because you're filming it. Now, we know that people will film anything because that's just what people like to do. They like to go live. People like to film themselves, take selfies. So you really can't say if it was deliberate or not. But you're going to think that because you now got 2 videos allegedly out of the altercation, 2 different altercations with the young lady. What was it about? Well, no matter what it was about, no matter how stupid they were for filming, stupid enough not to aid, break it up, leave the young lady there, different versions spun to her mother, different versions of people going live telling what happened, didn't happen. One guy doing a live saying he wasn't there, that was somebody else. He ended up calling him a homophobic slur. So now people would say, well, maybe that wasn't him. He talking about how close he was to the family. The mother's disappointed at this certain guy in his role. He's claiming he got there a day late. You're entitled to believe whatever you want to believe. But in the end, those said people left this woman there. You're going to get variance and difference of what happened at the scene, when a nurse came, doctor came, why it took you so long to call an ambulance, which is very suspect. She could have possibly lived had she got the right care. I'm going to bring you that sad information. Prayers to also the 4 young people slain in Idaho. Another subject I really don't want to touch, because too much gossip has started about that case. And I'm so very thankful that law officials spoke, I believe it was yesterday, on downing all the rumors. Because one, you weren't there, you don't know what happened to the people. You're entitled to your opinion to speculate. But when you pass rumors, that's a whole different ballgame. That's a whole different ballgame. So that case is no different than Shanquella's case. You don't know what happened. You weren't there. And it's wrong to be passing rumors when you don't even know the people involved. You don't know who they knew. And that's another tricky situation with the Idaho 4. The suspect list is endless due to the fact you're talking about 4 different people, 4 different lives, 4 different interactions with different people, neighbors, people from the school, who own the house, who they're renting from, maintenance workers, people walking by, stalkers, somebody had a crush, somebody's mad, somebody's vengeful. The list is endless. And when it has too many intricate parts in the story, I just prefer not to talk about it because I don't have that kind of time. I don't want to waste my time talking about 5, 6 different people in a story. As one tuber said the other day, I get the names mixed up. Well, and I agree with him. You're going to start to get the names mixed up because you're trying to remember all these people who are deceased. Then their mama, daddy, cousin, auntie wants to say something to the dudes. Then you got neighbors talking. Then you got public people talking. Then you got school people talking. Then you got, it's just overwhelming. Back to Shanquella. What happened in Mexico? Let's bring you the said information. Prayers to the family and justice. Mexico has decided that you're going to be extradited back to Mexico, sweetie. You are going to be extradited back. So you all can take turns in deciding who brought the fatal blow to Shanquella Robinson. Amen. God is good. Thank you, Jesus. It's a very sick situation. There's a reason why I'm going live today on Thanksgiving, and it's because of Shanquella Robinson and the Idaho 4 and partly Quentin Simon is why I decided to go live today. It's that you have a reason to be thankful. Sold out, I heard that last night. That, yes, she paid for the trip. Yes. While I was out last night, that is the rumor that I heard too. I'm bringing you this information today on Thanksgiving to show you why you should be grateful and thankful, that you need to be very careful of the company you keep. You need to be mindful of how you speak to people, how you talk to people, and know that everybody is not your friend. Everybody's not rooting for you, whether it's an acquaintance, a best friend, or it could even be a family member. That even the people that hang in your inner circle, they do not wish you well. They may not like you. They may have ill feelings towards you, but they're tolerating you. And that's a very strong word to use, but I've got a feeling that possibly that's what happened. And I've learned this in living at 51 years of age. I may like you, but I don't like your friend. I don't like your sister or your brother or your mother. Or I could have met you, thought you were okay, but then I like your mother, brother, sister, cousin better than you. And I tolerated you, but I really didn't like you. And we've all been around people who we really don't care for. And that is why it's best that you don't hang in the company of people that you don't care for. We can agree to disagree, but when it becomes a point to where I don't trust you or you don't trust me, we don't need to be in each other's company. And that is the reason why you have situations such as this. Somebody had ill feelings toward this young lady. And you can't even say that she had actually a good friend on the trip because nobody broke up the fights. A good friend would have never allowed that. And as one young lady said last night while I was out, none of my friends would have allowed anybody to fight me or I fight somebody else. Well, she would hope her friends would jump in. Because if you have messy friends, they don't mind watching you fight or watch you get your ass whooped. And that's what happened down in that villa. Those people were not her friends. Even the ones who were on the trip and pretended to be a good friend, they would not have allowed another person to sit up there and beat her up, whether she was inebriated or not. Hey, we're not getting ready to allow this. We didn't come down here for this. You all take this shit back to North Carolina. We're not going to do this here. Very disturbing information. All right, everybody, let me go ahead and get started. Shanquella Robinson, prayers to the family. Let's start with the FBI. They have now joined this case. Excuse me, I'll turn my speaker on. Thank you.
Bluetooth connected.
1 second, everybody. I'm going to play you 2 audios pertaining to this story, and then I'll bring you an article.
Good morning, Robin. We've been covering this story for more than a week now, and with this new information that just came out really yesterday evening and overnight, more questions than ever now surround the death of Shanquella Robinson here in Mexico. This morning, a family looking for answers surrounding the death of North Carolina native Shanquella Robinson at a luxury resort during a vacation in Mexico. The FBI now investigating as a bombshell new development has emerged. Mexican authorities say the American tourist may have been alive and that a medical professional on site may have been working on the 25-year-old for 3 hours before police arrived on the scene. According to local Spanish language reports, one of the guests staying at the resort called for help around 2 p.m. upon arriving, informing medical professionals that she had, quote, drunk a lot of alcohol. A doctor reportedly said she was stable but dehydrated, suggesting she be treated at a hospital. The guests, however, insisted she stay in the villa. Law enforcement authorities not called until later, eventually declaring Robinson deceased just after 6 p.m. Those reports differing from an autopsy obtained by ABC News, listing that medical professionals arrived at the villa around 3 p.m., declaring her dead within 15 minutes, citing the Charlotte native died from a severe spinal cord injury and a dislocated neck. We got our first dead body. This morning, a new video surfacing showing Shanquella resting in a hammock at some point before the trip turned deadly. Buddy.
I heard some stuff, dead body. And, that just made me wonder, that was they playing all the time.
This on the heels of the now viral video, too violent to show, of a female roommate appearing to assault Shanquella.
They just stood there and watched and didn't even try to stop it or break it up. She wasn't even fighting back. They attacked her.
Over the weekend, the community gathering to lay the once vibrant businesswoman to rest. Justice can't come soon enough for the Robinson family.
To let me know that my daughter's being murdered wasn't going to go in vain, that somebody's going to be prosecuted.
And even with all this new information, no formal suspects have been declared in this case by either the police, the Attorney General's office here in Mexico. So a formal conclusion surrounding this death still seems very far away at this point.
Yeah, but many want to hear from those friends, especially after that video went viral. Well, hey there.
All right, everybody. Good morning, America is the source. You hear FBI has entered into this investigation. This commentary says no suspects, but that has changed. Mexico has issued a warrant for one of the participants in this fight against Shanquella. But the commentary I'm going to bring you has not named the suspect. Mexico is the last place you want to do jail time. I think most of you know this. And that's what you should have thought about when you decided not to call for a doctor or, let's say, go to the hospital. See where you messed up? You let the doctor, nurse treat her, but you didn't want to go to the hospital because you knew they would have found out what happened to her. And if she was lucid to speak, she would have told them, oh, they beat me up. Oh, they roughed me up. And you didn't want to risk her talking. So that's why you wanted her treated at the villa. But the longer she stayed at the villa, her chances of life were dwindling. And that's what happened. She died there because she didn't get adequate medical attention. She probably was dehydrated from drinking, not drinking enough water. Probably started drinking once she touched down. What happened? What was so terrible that you had to fight her? And then another young lady allegedly jumped in and fought her at another incident. Do not know the time frame of these videos. But why were you all beating up this chick? What did she do to you? What did she say to you that you felt the need to beat her up? One rumor is that somebody was transgender to beat her up. So let's say a man dressed like a woman. What are you doing beating up a girl? You're a boy, if that allegation is true. And even if you're a female, you have no business beating her up. For what? If it's that serious, you should have never went on the trip. Rumors that she paid for the trip. I do not know. But that would be even more macabre. She paid for her own death. She paid for the villains who killed her. Watched. Was this an orchestrated trip to hurt this lady? Next commentary is pertaining to a warrant issued. WCNC is the source of this information. Thank you for joining me. Arrest warrant issued in Shanquella Robinson case. Multiple Mexican news outlets report.
Shanquella Robinson. She is the Charlotte woman who died on a trip to Cabo. Her mysterious death sparking international interest and calls for justice. Word of this development coming from two Mexican news outlets, NBCS Noticias, citing the Attorney General in Baja California Sur as the source here. The AG also saying the extradition process is already started. The FBI's Charlotte field office also investigating.
Go back. Let me play all of that. Hold on.
Tonight, we have learned Mexican authorities have issued an arrest warrant related to the death of Shanquella Robinson. She is the Charlotte woman who died on a trip to Cabo. Her mysterious death sparking international interest and calls for justice. Word of this development coming from two Mexican news outlets.
All right. I just want to make sure I played all of that. A warrant has been issued. So who has the warrant been issued for? Will there be more warrants issued? Because we're now hearing rumors that she was jumped by two different women. New York Post is the third source of information. Thank you so much for joining me during this live stream. Mexican prosecutors issued arrest warrants for a suspect in the death of an American woman who was vacationing at a luxury resort in San Jose del Cabo, according to a report. The warrant, which does not name the alleged suspect, comes as the death of Charlotte native Shanquella Robinson was being probed as a violent crime. Daniel De La Rosa Anaya, a local prosecutor for the state of Baja California Sur, noted the suspect was a friend of the victim, according to ABC News. This case is fully clarified. We even have a court order. There is an arrest warrant issued for the crime of femicide to the detriment of the victim and against an alleged perpetrator, a friend of her who is the direct aggressor, he reportedly said. Actually, it wasn't a quarrel, but instead a direct aggression. We are carrying out all the pertinent procedures, such as the Interpol alert and the request for extradition to the United States of America. It's about two Americans, the victim and the culprit. Robinson's death was originally thought to be alcohol poisoning, but a death certificate revealed the cause of death was a severe spinal cord injury and a last luxation, an instability of the first two neck vertebrae, leading to the investigation, WSOC TV reported. Footage previously emerged that showed Robinson being beaten inside a hotel room, with Robinson's mother, Salamandra, telling the news station she recognized people in the video as friends who went on the trip with her daughter. Reports initially indicated the 25-year-old died 15 minutes after her spinal injury, but Robinson might have actually been alive and received medical care for several hours before she was pronounced dead, according to a police report obtained by the Charlotte Observer. The report states medical assistance was requested around 2:13 on October 29th by one of the friends on the trip with Robinson. According to the newspaper, Dr. Carolina Beatriz Anillas Gutierrez said Robinson drank a lot of alcohol and was dehydrated and unable to talk, but had stable vital signs. So you have a doctor here saying she drank a lot of alcohol and was dehydrated and unable to talk, but had stable vital signs. When Gutierrez wanted to take Robinson to a hospital, the victim's friends insisted she be cared for at the villa. Very suspect. Robinson later suffered a brief seizure and her condition worsened before her heart stopped beating and police arrived, the Observer reported. The FBI began investigating the case earlier this month as Mexican authorities probed it as a femicide, which is a crime against women. Salamandra Robinson told ABC News she wants answers, particularly from the several friends that went on the trip with her daughter. I would like to see each of them sent back to Mexico because their plan was to come back here, thinking that they wasn't going to be prosecuted, she said. She was a caring person, and I want them to always remember that. We're going to keep her legacy alive. New York Post is the source. Wow. What a travesty. Man, I'm just, whoo. I have a lot of mixed emotions about the story because it's very crazy. It's a very crazy story. It's a very crazy story. I wanted to play this news broadcast pertaining to this. This is a guy who has a show out in Texas. He gives a lot of opinions pertaining to true crime, crime stories here in the U.S. If I can pull it up. Thank you all so much for joining me. It's taking a while to upload. Sorry about that. I'm just baffled right now. That's why I didn't really want to talk about this story. It's too messy, very messy. These people have been talking and live streaming, but what I'd like to know, have you all talked to officials in North Carolina instead of going live explaining what you did and didn't do?
Factor Uncensored, thank you for joining us tonight. We would begin with a disturbing story out of Mexico. Shanquella Robinson went on vacation with a group of friends for a birthday celebration in October. Shanquella never made it back to the United States. She was dead within 24 hours of getting off the airplane. Now, Shanquella's mother says her daughter's friends initially told her the 25-year-old died from alcohol poisoning, but the autopsy is telling a totally different story, that she may have been beaten to death. New video shows those so-called friends attacking Shanquella Robinson on vacation.
Quilla, can you at least fight back? No. At least something. At least fight back, something.
That's horrible. The case has many people wondering exactly what happened. Justice for Shanquella has been trending on Twitter, and the FBI is now involved. We're following the investigation as well. Joining us here on The Factor Uncensored, Todd Smith and attorney Dennis Sperling. Dennis, you travel abroad all the time.
Yeah.
And you, I'm sure you keep up with all the international laws and how it could affect you. When many people think because this murder happened in Mexico, it would be in their jurisdiction, it would be for them to investigate. But that's not always the way it works in America.
That's absolutely correct. You're an American citizen and you do something abroad, the United States still could have jurisdiction over you if that jurisdiction does not decide to prosecute you.
And it looks like Mexico has no interest in following up on this, right?
If Mexico sees an American citizen and another American citizen or American citizens having a dispute, it ended in someone's death, and now everybody's back in North Carolina, allegedly. This is where these folks are from. But bottom line is, it's in the hands of the federal government at this point if they decide to prosecute.
Now, looking at this case, just how horrible is it? You go out of this country with your so-called friends.
Yeah.
They lie to your mother, saying that you're drunk and that you're sick, and they, or at least some of them, kill her.
Well, you know, I've done some investigation into this, and it looks like all of the individuals attended the HBC.
Sorry about that, you guys. Well, only when now I'm froze up.
Winston-Salem University. So they've been.
I don't know what's going on. I should have went to this channel and played this. These articles do not like to play the content well for some crazy reason. Let me, I'm going to go. Sorry about that. I don't know why the articles, I don't know why these are videos, they never like to play in the articles for some crazy reason. Hold on, let me try to go back. What are you all saying down there? 3 minute apart in chivalry. Yeah, well. Yeah, popped up ads. That's what it was. It jumped right in while I was playing. I like this guy. I like his commentary. He's very passionate about his commentary. I don't know why it's not. It's slow rolling. Well, I don't know. I don't really know what to say because there's no adequate explanation for what happened down there. I just feel like she was on a trip with some very vile people. These were not her friends. Frenemies is probably the appropriate word to use. It's just a very sick situation. Because, hold on, let's see if it's short now.
Made it back to the United States. She was dead within 24 hours of getting off the airplane. Now, Shanquella's mother says her daughter's friends initially told her the 25-year-old died from alcohol poisoning, but the autopsy is telling a totally different story, that she may have been beaten to death. New video shows those so-called friends attacking Shanquella Robinson on vacation.
Good look, can you at least fight back? No. At least something. At least fight back, something.
That's horrible. The case has many people wondering exactly what happened. Justice for Shanquella has been trending on Twitter, and the FBI is now involved. We're following the investigation as well. Joining us here on The Factor Uncensored, Todd Smith and attorney Dennis Sperling. Dennis, you travel abroad all the time.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you keep up with all the international laws and how it could affect you. When many people think because this murder happened in Mexico, it would be in their jurisdiction, it would be for them to investigate. But that's not always the way it works in America.
That's absolutely correct. You're an American citizen and you do something abroad, the United States still could have jurisdiction over you if that jurisdiction does not decide to prosecute you.
And it looks like Mexico has no interest in following up on this, right?
Mexico sees an American citizen and another American citizen or American citizens having a dispute. It ended in someone's death. And now everybody's back in North Carolina, allegedly. Mm-hmm. This is where these folks are from. But bottom line is it's in the hands of the federal government at this point if they decide to prosecute.
Now, looking at this case, just how horrible is it? You go out of this country with your so-called friends.
Yeah.
They lie to your mother saying that you're drunk and that you're sick, and they, or at least some of them, kill her.
Well, you know, I've done some investigation into this, and it looks like all of the individuals attended the HBCU Winston-Salem University, so they've been knowing each other for some time. Mm-hmm. And what I see is female on female brutality going on. And if you check the statistics, it appears as though women and their propensity to do violence and be arrested and go to prison is going up. While on the other hand, men, their propensity to do violence is going down. Just in the case of Black American men, there was a time we had more men in college or more men in prison than in college, and now the opposite is true. But unfortunately, our lovely ladies are kicking up some dust.
Horrible situation. Todd, your thoughts on seeing this, where these individuals went out of town as friends, and now one is dead, and they lied about it. Now many of them are getting on social media trying to tell their story, their side, but it's just unforgivable.
I think you said it right earlier. You said so-called friends. People have to be careful about who we call friends. There's a meme that's going around that says you could be friends with somebody for years, and it takes you years to realize they were never your friend.
Yes,
a lot of times I get a gut feeling when I think something is wrong. I don't know their situation totally, but a lot of times when I'm put in bad situations, I'll feel it and I'll remove myself from that situation. I just won't show up. But the thing is to kill her, allegedly, whatever happened, 24 hours after y'all gotten there, there had to be some animosity beforehand.
Exactly.
I tell people a lot of times, people in the hood, we always say, I want my day one friends with me. I want the friends that were with me when I didn't have anything to be there with me when I blow up. This young lady, 25 years old, all of them went to Winston-Salem. She had a successful business, beautiful. That might lead to some jealousy. Mm-hmm. And jealousy will rear its ugly head. So a lot of times when you're down and out, people will have your back because that makes them feel good about themselves. But the minute you do well, that's when the animosity comes. So young people need to realize that sometimes you need to pay attention to the people who might be giving you smart comments when you find success. Those people are not your friends. Just because you've known them a long time doesn't mean they're your friends. So you have to be really cognizant of the people you keep around you. I just keep family around me for the most part, but keep the right people around you so you probably won't be in this situation.
And Dennis, do we know, and I heard some rumors that she may have paid for some of them to go there.
Yeah, and that is a tragedy. But my advice to that mother if you're listening, if you're following this program, and I hope you are, I want to make sure you stay on the FBI. You make reports with the local police. You follow up with the FBI agent assigned to this, and you make sure this gets in front of the Attorney General in North Carolina, because that is where you're going to get justice. The other thing is there's always an opportunity to file a civil suit against these individuals for wrongful death. It's a different process, but it's the same courthouse, but it's a lesser burden of proof, and you can get to the truth of what happened in this matter.
Unless they have substantial resources, though, is it worth it?
Well, sometimes justice requires that you do what's necessary.
Yes.
And I think that if it was my son or my daughter, if I had a daughter, I got sons, but if it was my sons, there would be nothing that would stop me from finding out the truth and making sure the people who caused my child's death, if it was truly murder or killing, I would want to bring them to justice one way or the other.
Now, you've been doing some deep diving into this. What else have you found out that maybe the public doesn't know just as of yet, Dennis?
Well, as I said earlier, all of them, the alleged assailants attended Winston-Salem. So that means they've been knowing each other for at least half a decade. They know each other. They're familiar with each other. And when you listen to the voices in the background, I hear multiple people witnessing this incident. Now, all of those individuals had a duty to come to the aid of that victim. They can't just say, "Oh, I didn't do anything." Everybody is subject to that murder, alleged murder. The other thing I want you to understand is that, and I'm going to say this, and this may sound controversial, but if this was a little white girl, I'm sure it would be all over the news right now. But because it was a young black woman, I feel, and this is because I've seen it play out, and you can't even name the number of black women that are missing. There are so many black women that are missing in the United States. There's been no public uprising because she doesn't have the complexion for protection, as we used to say.
All right, Dennis, Todd, thank you for joining us. You have The Factor on Sin.
All right, everybody, check out Fox 26, The Factor, with Isaiah. He's a very outspoken gentleman about his commentary. I like his style. And let's chop up what was said here. I'm not going to hold you all. I'm already almost an hour into this live stream. Oh, mercy. This is bad. Mercy. I can't gather my thoughts the way I want. You hear in this commentary that perhaps she paid for the trip. They've known each other for some years. They're all Winston-Salem University alumni or previous students. So how long have all of the people that were on the trip known each other? Were these friends of friends? Were some good friends, but then invited other friends along for the trip? Very, very sickening information. Calm down in the chat. Did she pay for all of the people on the trip, or one or two or three people that she thought she was friends with? Who is the alleged suspect on the arrest warrant? Is it the one that we see beating her up that pulls off the wig? I saw what believed to be a darker skinned black person with a blonde wig. I did see a blonde wig being pulled off. It was rumored, told to me last night, that was a guy. I don't know if that's true or not, but the person is bigger than Shanquella. So they had a little bit of an advantage. Then we have to count, was this person also drinking or inebriated? 2, was Shanquella drinking? You also see she was not fighting back, sitting in the floor, just sitting there. Why did she not want to fight back? Maybe she felt like she couldn't win. What's the purpose of me fighting back? I can't beat this person up. So why was she the chosen person to accost? Number 1. 2, why did the other people stand and watch and film? 3, why didn't any of you intervene and break up the fight? 4, why did this other young lady by the name of Winter something, why did you jump in? Because there's another video circulating that you decided to go on in and tag team her. So what was your stake? You were what? Defending your friend? Well, you can't say you were defending your friend because your friend had the better part of her. She never fought back. So why would you jump in? So that's where the orchestration comes in when number 2 comes in. See, number one can argue all day. Well, I had beef with her. I had this. But number two, what was your reasoning for jumping in? Because number one had the upper hand, let's say. So you can't even say, oh, I jumped in to help because she was never fighting perpetrator number one. So why would you then decide to come in? Shameful indeed. Will there be other arrests besides the one? Our federal government is now involved, which I'm glad, because Mexico don't care about their own people. As most of you know, when you watch the stories pertaining to the savage, brutal killings of people in Mexico, those people are running away from there to get to here. So you have to be concerned about the justice system. If the person is extradited back, will they get a lot of time in jail? Might only do 1 year, 2 years. But they'll still have a murder charge. Amen. So I'm glad the FBI joined into this investigation, because you foolishly filmed it. Why would you film the altercation? Please explain to the queen why you did that. Why would you film it? Leave her there, knowing she was dead. She possibly could have survived the injuries had she gotten adequate care. We won't know because she's dead. You didn't want that doctor taking her to the emergency room, which you all have given different versions pertaining to that. Because now they're saying there's a conflict between the autopsy versus the versions. Well, I'm going to weigh on the autopsy versus a version. Because in the end, as I've told many of you, a version is just that, a version. Everything that's known in true crime is a version. It's up to you to decide if you want to believe it or not. What they told the police, what the police told the prosecutor, what the eyewitnesses say, there's probably a little bit of truth in it, a little bit of fabrication, a little bit of lying, a whole lot of lying. It's just a version. But you didn't want her to go to the hospital because you knew she could talk. That's why you didn't want that doctor taking her to the hospital. So that shows complicity to cover up what actually happened to Shanquella Robinson. You knew the girl would talk. And how scary would that be if she did go to the hospital? She's now got to tell these people, oh, yeah, I came all the way down here from North Carolina with my so-called friends and they beat me up. And then let's just say she survived. She's now got to trust who to get her things out of the room, get her belongings. This goes way deep when you really assess the situation. Because just imagine she lived, what she would be having to come out of the hospital to. I question, did anybody steal from her? I had not heard anything about that, but that's the first thing that went to my mind because as somebody once told me, I'm a heavy thinker. So that was the first thing I thought about. Did anybody steal her belongings? Did anybody steal her money, jewelry, credit cards, debit cards? Will we find out that something belonging to her or more was stolen by the people on the trip? You know that if you took any money off her card, it's going to come back. And that's going to rank up that this was orchestrated, even if it wasn't orchestrated. Because a lot of people are feeling like this crime is orchestrated because you all stood and you watched. It may not have even been intended for anybody to beat her up on the trip, but somebody got hot-headed down there and said, oh, I'm going to try this girl. I'm going to try her. Or better yet, I'm going to show her. So the one who's the ringleader number one that pulled off the blonde wig, why did you beat her up? What was your motive for beating her up? What did she do or say to you that led to you feeling the need to hit this girl numerous times, and then your so-called acquaintance joins in tag teaming? What was the motive? You see, she didn't fight you back, so why did you continue to hit her? Was this an orchestrated plan to beat her up? Because if we say that this was orchestrated to beat her up, they had to have known the ramifications for beating her up there. How was it going to end? So that's why you always have to ask all the questions when you say it's a setup. If it's a setup, then you had to have known there was going to be repercussions of you beating her up. You watching. How was the trip going to end when you just got there? You weren't there 24 hours. Allegedly, you beat your friend up. How was it going to end if she had lived? Make it make sense. How was it going to end? You fight her, girl two comes in, and then what? You all go skinny dipping, go jump in the swimming pool, go out to dinner, go dance at the club? There would have been animosity. Even worse, how is she going to have fun on a trip after being beat up? When you come to this channel, I want you to think. I want you to think about what I'm saying to you. I want you to think about the information that's been given to you. Because she's dead, but I want you to think about, had she lived? How was this going to play out had she lived? How is she going to enjoy herself on a trip where two people have beat her up? Would she have stayed had she lived? Would she have stayed? Would she have gotten up if she could walk, taken herself to the hospital or called for emergency services? Or would they have tried to stop her from calling? And most of you will probably say, yeah, they would have stopped her because that's the reason why they told that doctor, don't take her to the hospital. Let's talk about the doctor. You're a medical professional, and you had to have known that she was dwindling when she was there. If we're to believe that you were actually there on the scene, you said she was dehydrated, she wasn't talking, then that means you're supposed to have used your medical knowledge to say she needs to be in the hospital. I'm going to call any damn way. So you didn't do your due diligence either. Because there's no way I would have stayed on the scene pity-patting around with a person that's slowly dwindling from life. That made no damn sense. So to me, you're just as guilty as those women and men that were there. And to me, they're not women or men, they're creatures. 3 hours is a long time to play around with a person's life. And then the fact that she's been drinking, let's just say she had been drinking, that didn't make it better, made it worse because she now has broken bones. So one, you're dehydrated. Let's say she had alcohol in her system. She now has a broken neck, broken back, which is soever. That's a major part of your body, your back, your neck. She needed medical attention. And as I said, had she lived, who was going to be the decent person to make sure she got her belongings, brought her belongings to her, called the mother to say, oh, she had an accident, oh, she fell, oh, whatever? Who was going to be the person to stay with her in the hospital? So this is crazy to me. Absolutely crazy to me. That this would be even worse had she lived, because who would have been there to be by her side while she's in the hospital? She definitely couldn't call these people. Why would she trust calling any of them? Oh, hey, can you bring my purse? Oh, hey, can you do this? Or, you know, naturally, she probably would have taken her purse with her if she was lucid enough. But these aren't the kind of people that she could have even expected to go to the hospital with her. So this is really a serious, serious situation. Now, many of you are saying she was set up. But as I said, think about what you're saying. She was set up. That means you were willing to pay the consequences then, whether she lived or not lived. Conversation tell you, you leave a body behind or the body makes it to the hospital, there's going to be an autopsy. Somebody's going to see that something's not right with the victim, foul play. How much lying are you going to continue to do? Or one could say they didn't care. They didn't care about what the autopsy was going to show. They thought, well, we'll just keep talking. We'll talk loud enough, talk over this doctor. It won't matter. But it did matter because an autopsy was performed. Now, where there's an issue is the autopsy's rendering of 15 minutes that she died. So 15 minutes initially from the beating till death, then that can't be accurate if actually a doctor came. Because the doctor couldn't have been there for hours, and then the report says she died initially 15 minutes, I guess, after the beating. So this is where they say there's a discrepancy of the versions of the doctor, the friends, versus the autopsy report. Because there's no way she could have been living almost 4 hours, but died within 15 minutes of the beating. That means she would have had to have been dead at the villa for hours, and then medical attention was called, and then she was taken to the hospital already dead. What is the truth? Was this doctor on the scene for a few hours with her? Because this is where I have the problem. If this is true, you as a doctor should have known she was not well. And if her neck was broke, back broke, then you should have seen she would have been very limp. So you should have known as a doctor that something was broken. And she was not respondent. This is bad. Obviously, they did not care. And they show this by allegedly not wanting the doctor to take her to the hospital. Because they knew that when she went to the hospital, if she ever made it to the hospital, the truth would come out. Rather, Shanquella told it herself, or they viewed her body and saw, alive or deceased, she had been assaulted, or came to the conclusion she did not do this on her own. How do these people now feel about a warrant being issued out of Mexico for one of their comrades? Who's going to tell the truth about what happened and why they stood there and watched and filmed their friend, so-called friend, get beat up by two different women? And why are you all going live once back home? For what reason? That's what the fuck you did when you was down there. Going live to show your friend getting beat up. Then you get back, you want to explain yourself. Well, you didn't explain yourself to the authorities. You didn't take your friend to the hospital. You didn't stay to make sure she was okay. Because one, it should have never happened. Should have stood there and watched in the first place. You should have broke it up. Hey, that's enough. Cut it out. I didn't come down here for this. But see, I know about jumping into a fight. You could be fighting a person. But somebody should have jumped in. 6 or 7 people, somebody should have said, hey, we ain't about to do this. We didn't come this far to do this. This is just sickening to stand and watch. And people have a fascination now, especially young people. You have this sick sensation of wanting to watch everything that goes on with people. As soon as you see people talking loud or arguing, you want to watch. You want to film. But what you don't seem to understand, when you are filming a crime, which this is a crime now, you are party to it because you didn't intervene. You weren't a stranger walking by or sitting on a park bench and saw two random people arguing and you filmed it. And then it led to a murder, or later the person died at a hospital. You know the person fighting. You knew the people fighting. You watched, engaged, and did nothing. Hello, B. So you are a part of this. You're a part of the crime. And you did nothing. So you can get away with saying, oh, I didn't know them. I was just walking by and saw two people fighting. But you weren't random people. You watched. These are your so-called friends fighting. And see, what these dodo birds don't seem to understand that stood by and watched, and those who fought her, the two different alley bats that fought her. If it was you all fighting somebody else and they had the better part of beating you up, those same people that watched you beat up Shanquella would have done the same had somebody whooped your ass in that villa. How about that? Of course, you're not thinking about that. Had you also been beat up or decided not to fight back another person, those same group of friends would have watched somebody do the same to you. How about that? Justice for Shanquella Robinson. It was mentioned in his commentary with Mr. Isaiah about suing. What would be the point in suing? Justice. Doesn't matter if you ever get a dime from any of these people. It's to show that you've done wrong by my child. You left my child there. You lied to me. You've been going live streams, making up all kind of random stories. I want justice for my child. That's why. And I pray that she sues each one civilly. Put all their names on the dotted line, everybody that was in that villa. And I'd let them know, don't call me, don't message me. We don't have anything to talk about. Because when you decided to leave Mexico and leave my child there, you said the hell with my child and you said the hell with me. So we don't have anything to talk about. Is somebody going to tell the truth of what the dispute was about in that villa? Because it won't matter, but people are going to be curious to how it led to this one person hitting her and then allegedly another person jumping in at some point. And that was also filmed, and a video of that has been released of a second party hitting her as well. What was the motive? Because what was so bad on this trip that you all felt the need to beat this lady up? And you see that she never fought back. So why? And many believe the second person who jumped in may have administered what would be considered the final blow to cause her death. Because you see her sitting upright, incident number one, but you don't know what else was done when the camera was turned off. See, that's what you always got to tell yourself. That's the thing about watching a video. How much of real time are you watching? Because I don't even know how long the actual video is of incident number one, because I haven't been able to watch it. So how long was the initial video? How long was it that she was actually sitting upright between the next time the other girl comes in and starts to plummet her? See, you don't know. The only people that know are the people that were there. I want to thank the FBI for intervening, because that was the right thing to do, no matter the race of the victim. Black, white, Mexican, it's all the same to me. And yes, a lot of African-American people are missing, children missing, grown-ups missing, and they do not get the just due. A lot of their crimes are not aired nationally on the news. So I am glad that this case has made national attention. And there's some type of illness or omen circling Mexico because we just had 3 Black people go down there and they are no longer alive. I don't know what the hell's going on. Demon seed friends, demon seeds looking for Americans to do things to. I don't know what the hell's going on. But my best advice to some of you is to stay your ass out of these resorts. There's thousands of places we can go right here in the United States and have a good time. I would not venture to any foreign place because people can do things to you just because you're an American, whether you're Black or white. They know you're American because of your accent. I would not go. And this is just not looking good with Mexico right now. 4 deaths in 1 month's time, it's a bit much. Each situation is possibly different, but it's just a bad look. What happened in Mexico to this young lady? What happened to Shanquella Robinson? So I'm going to ask the people who were there and the 2 women that accosted her, was it worth it? Was it worth it? What you did to this young lady, beating her, watching, looking, lying to the doctor about what was wrong with her, lying to her family, leaving her, possible robbery of her effects. Was it worth it? Now, there's a warrant being issued for one of you nasty beasts. How do you feel now? I bet you're scared because now you're trying to figure out how you're going to maneuver in a Mexican jail. And you know they're not going to treat you well as an American down there. You'd be lucky if you come out alive because they don't have to show you favor. Why should they? You murdered somebody. And all the rest of you need to also be arrested for watching and gaping and not helping the young lady and not breaking it up. But I don't believe she would have felt safe on the trip had she lived. Who would want to stay in a hotel room villa with a bunch of heathens after they have beat me up and watched me get beat up? And God forbid, I'm the one that paid for some of them to go on the trip. Now imagine that. How long have these people been friends? Because obviously they were not friends with one another. And as I just told you, if they could watch this girl get beat up twice, they would have done the same had it been anybody else in that group getting beat up. Why not? What's so special about Shanquella? You're bold enough to watch her get beat up and do nothing and lie and not render aid. You would have done the same to anybody else in that damn villa. You all are dirty. And let me tell you something. What goes around comes around. I think you know that. You all are what I would call bum bitches. Even the guys. And all that live streaming you're doing, trying to explain yourself. I got there a day late, this and that. Nobody wants to hear that shit. Because that girl's dead. Nobody cares. Her mother doesn't care. She doesn't have a child. The father doesn't have a child. Have you heard the mother? Have you heard the father crying? Have you seen them talk to the news? Then you would see that they don't give a damn. They want justice for their child. So any explanation you're giving on a fucking live stream doesn't mean anything. It's neither here nor there for them, the family. And I'm going to tell you this directly from the queen. Oh, she was loved, no matter what you all thought of her, didn't like about her. Because the line at the funeral home, or the church rather, should show you how well she was thought of. Now, I won't doubt that. Some people going to the funeral just to be nosy, because you have sick people like that. Don't know the victim, who just want to be gaping and a part of something. But I'm sure there are some people who attended the services at the church, were genuinely concerned for the young lady, knew of her friends and family, such. So the 6 that were there is in no comparison to how many people stood outside the church waiting to see and view Miss Robinson. So that's the thing people need to understand about life, is that you may kill the flesh, but you didn't kill the spirit. So her spirit lives on. And that was proof at the church. You didn't kill the spirit. And now you're going to have to pay the piper for what you did to that young lady in that villa. No matter the reasoning, no matter the motive, no matter the, oh, you all don't understand, you weren't there, you don't get it. It doesn't matter. The autopsy says different. And if you can't show that she fell down a flight of stairs, fell off a balcony, then there's nothing you're going to be able to explain to her mother, the FBI, Mexican authority, or the general public, or how her neck got broke. You all hated her that much that you would beat her up and watch. You all are not good friends. You're not good friends to anybody. And what's sickening is that you had several people there who obviously witnessed this event and did nothing. That's the scary part. It's nobody did anything. Fighting her is one thing. Watching is another. So that means the person who watched, plural, you are just as devious and cutthroat as the vile thing that beat her up. And the second person that came along, Miss Winter, that's what they're calling you, you decide to double back and join in on the fun too. So you should also have an arrest warrant for your participation. So you can live stream all damn day about what allegedly happened in that villa, your explanations of what you did to her, and we don't understand, and we weren't there, and see, blah, blah, blah. I need to listen to what you have to say, because I think it's interesting when you hear people try to spin the web after the fact. That lets me know you're guilty, because to go run to social media after you've murdered somebody is a joke, and it shows that you're guilty. Who the fuck goes to social media to say, well, let me explain to you, you weren't there, let me tell you what happened. Well, I just got there and I just got off an airplane, and just like that little fucker that was sitting up there going live, talking about what the villa was and how big it was. See, that's what guilty people do. They talk around the subject. Who gives a fuck about how big the fucking place was? What does that have to do with what you saw and did not see? If you didn't see anything, that's all you had to say. Hey, I just like to tell you all, I got there at this time. When I got there, she was already gone at the hospital, blah, blah, blah. You're talking about what it looked like, how big the rooms were. That lets me know you know more about what happened, because you're deflecting. And that's usually what guilty people do. Were you trying to explain, well, the villa was so big that when it happened, you were what? In another room? Out on the lanai, the patio, what? By the swimming pool, what? But allegedly you weren't there. So if you weren't there, bring it on to him, Queen. Why are you describing how big the villa was? See, you told on yourself right there. Oh, it's so big and it got so many rooms and blah, blah, blah. Okay, well, if it's got so many rooms, what is the point of this conversation? What does it have to do with you not being there? How big it was? If it's so big, you're basically telling me you were there. See, this is why you don't talk through a cell phone. You keep your mouth closed. Because you told on yourself when you did that live stream. You weren't there, but yet you're describing how big the villa is. So basically, you told that you were there. Because the two don't make any sense. They don't go hand in hand. But this is what guilty people do. They talk around the subject, and then yet they still implicate themselves at the scene of the crime. Then you talk about being threatened. Your life's threatened. People putting your address on social media. Well, this is what those internet junkies do. Did you not know your kind? Just like your live stream about what allegedly happened and you weren't there. Well, you've got people who like to dox you and make fake profiles on Facebook, TikTok, and stalk you and go in your inbox and put your address, your location, your deeds, whatever you've done in your past, criminal records. Oh, yeah, they're going to put that out there because you decided to put yourself in this case. So they're paying you the favor. It's not saying that it's right or wrong. Depends on your perception. But hell yeah. They're going to put your ass on blast because that's what people do. That's what people do. And you made a homophobic slur about the guy who was filming in the background because that's when you wanted to let us know. That wasn't me. That wasn't me. That I'm not going to call the name you called him, but I think most of you know what name I'm referring to. You called him a homophobic slur. So you're letting us know, y'all got the wrong guy. That wasn't me. Ha, ha, ha. I'm cool with her mama. They've been nice to me, blah, blah, blah. But that's not the perception we get from her mother. She's quite disappointed in you, sir. See, I don't really know which one of you were her good friend bestie. Because I wasn't there and I don't know any of you. But I know you were not a friend to her. You were not a best friend to her. And whatever friendship she had with you, the one who was live streaming, spitting this garbage out, it's neither here nor there. She's dead now. She's not coming back. So all these live streams and explaining yourselves on live streams via Facebook or whatever, it's a waste of time. Who you should be talking to are the local authorities and the FBI. Save that bullshit for somebody that cares because I don't care about that stuff. And it's no amount of gossip that's going to make what happened in that villa right. Because we all have been in situations with people that we knew we shouldn't have been in, such as being in their company. But we continue to be around them anyway. This is a lesson learned. And this is a sad thing to say. And it's no disrespect to Ms. Robinson, but it is a lesson learned. You do not know people. Everybody is not your friend. And you have to know who you can travel with, go to parties with, because this could have easily took place right there in North Carolina, New York, Georgia, and the end result would have been the same. This could have easily happened right in North Carolina at an Airbnb, a private party, somebody's house. Because if you're evil enough to beat her down there, you would have done the same to her here. So now we have to ask the ultimate question. Has this happened before? Ting. Have these same people gotten together and a similar situation occurred? Some not so nice words, smart commentary. And as you heard this guy talking to Mr. Isaiah in this commentary with Fox 26, he says, no, when people are making snide remarks, you need to remove yourself. Exactly. Because that is your first sign that the people are not your friends. When you start hearing people making nasty comments about what you do for a living, how you look, how you dress, who you're dating, anything personal about you, when you hear it more than once in a conversation, you need to cut ties because they're telling you what they think about you. You need to cut ties because the person is now showing you they don't like you. They don't like something about you, and they need to repeat it where everybody can hear. So I won't doubt that these group of people, I don't know if she hangs with each one a lot or the group a lot, But something was possibly said out of the way to her by the two people that assaulted her. Snide remarks, mockery, and she accepted it. Or it could be they never said anything to her, and this was her opportunity to let this know how I feel about her. I got her alone now. I'm going to have my way with her. See, we really don't know because we don't know these people. But one thing we do know is that they're all vile, and they allowed it to happen. That's no secret. But I'm wondering if she's been in the company of these people and they have exhibited the same type of behavior, but it just didn't go that far beforehand. Have these people ever said anything out of the way to her while out at a party, function, club, and she just didn't say anything? Or she just laughed it off, shrugged it off? Because I'm starting to wonder if she's seen this behavior before. There just wasn't a jump off. My message today in this live stream is to be wary of the people and the company that you keep. And we've all been in very dire situations at some point in our lives where we realized we should not have been around people. Things may have turned violent. We were able to come out of the situation. You have to know to leave those kind of people alone. We all make mistakes. I myself have made them in the past. You have to know who is a good friend to you. And I've told myself that recently. When people don't support you, they don't support your dreams, they don't support your goals, they have something negative to say about what you're doing, they're letting you know they don't like what you're doing, or possibly they don't really like you, or they're just negative and they're self-reflecting. Really, I don't like myself. And I'm going to talk about you and say negative things about you because I don't like myself. And a lot of people do that. They envy you. They're jealous of you. They see that you're doing things in the world that they're not doing. And they want to be you, or wish they could be doing something of a magnitude of what you're doing. They're not happy with themselves. They're insecure. They're loathing you. And that's a terrible place to be in the world, is to not like yourself, not have self-confidence. And you looking in the world and looking at people that are doing things, and it's not to say that they are perfect. They may have some self-esteem issues themselves, but they press forward. But you have deeper issues because you are envious. And God forbid, diabolical. And people will let you know when they don't like what you're doing. And I've come to see that recently with certain people pertaining to this YouTube thing that I do. Yeah, I'm going to testify before I check out of here. When you are so concerned about my commentary and what I do up here, that tells me a lot about you as a person. Because the queen is not fretting over anything that she owns, having a YouTube channel. Those things don't make me. YouTube does not make me. Anything I own or possess does not make me. But when a person lets you know that what you're doing is not to their liking, first of all, it's none of your damn business. I'll say it. Because as the saying in the street goes, what you eat don't make me fat. It doesn't matter if I am a Rhodes Scholar, a scientist, a doctor, a lawyer, a bum, a YouTuber. It's my choice. And I work hard for everything I got. So if what I do up here bothers somebody, the best thing I could tell you is keep it moving. Because what I've learned is that some of you are very miserable. Kind of like this group that was standing here filming and that beat this girl up. You really don't have anything to show from living. You're just barely pedaling by. So anything that somebody else is doing, doesn't matter if it's a YouTuber, if it's a construction worker, if it's a medical assistant, you don't like you. You're not happy with yourself. Because you would have a problem with anybody. How about that? It won't matter what they're doing. So like I tell people, you keep it moving. Because Queen ain't worried about nothing. It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. It's Thanksgiving. I'm going to get out today and enjoy myself. I'm going to eat a little, cook a little, and then I'm going out and I'm going to go to a function later on, and I'm going to be dead sharp when I show up. That's how you handle a hater, baby. That's how you handle a hater. As we say in the street, the hater made me greater. And that's the attitude you have to have. You don't let nothing stop you from doing you, being you. And when you smell a rat, you keep it moving. That is the reason why Queen don't hang with a lot of folks. Because I know when I'm in the midst of a hater. I know when I'm in the midst of a hater. I know when I'm around somebody that's miserable. Because I'll tell you, they will usually show you signs that they're miserable. It's just a matter of, do I want to fool with you or not? And I don't want to end up a Shanquella Robinson. Because I can easily end up in her shoes. And it ain't to say that I ain't been in her shoes. But you have to say, well, I came out of that. I best not go back in. And foolishly, I've done it. Been around the people knowing I had no business being in their company. Whether I choose to forgive them, that's between me and God. But God sends us signs, don't go back. Please don't go back. And that's my message today. This is a day of giving thanks, and somebody didn't wake up today. There's a baby retrieved out of a landfill out of Savannah, Georgia. He's not celebrating the holidays because he didn't have the adequate love. A young lady took a trip with people who she thought were her friends, but there was no love. And now she is no longer living. And Mexican authorities have issued a warrant for one of the culprits. Praying there will be more arrests. 4 young people are no longer alive out of the state of Idaho because some demon crept into their bedrooms, living spaces, and brutally stabbed them to death. You see, the devil is real. And he doesn't care if you're white, if you're black, if you're short, you're tall, you're a college student, you're a hairdresser. When he decides he wants to intervene, he will. And he will use people to do his dirty work. And that's what he did in Idaho. That's what he did in Savannah, Georgia. And that's what he did in Mexico. He uses people. And you've got to know how to heed the warnings that you're in bad company. Because you see, a lot of people are no longer alive because of the company that they kept, or the people they surrounded themselves with who had issues with other people. See, it can go a multitude of ways. A lot of people today are not here because of others having issues with the people that are around them. Because I don't know what happened in Idaho, but that is a very, very sick scenario that transpired out there. And those children deserve justice as well as Shanquella Robinson, as well as Quentin Simon, and so many other homicide victims. That's why you have to be aware of the company you keep, your surroundings. Give social media a break. Stop posting stuff to social media. Stop telling all your business. Stop confiding in people. Be careful what you tell people because they will also use that against you when they decide they don't like you or fall out with you. And it's easy for us to be judgmental when we see stuff and be like, well, I don't agree with that. Why he do that? Why does she do that? But they can say the same, well, you're flawed too. Don't judge me. We all do it. We're human. But you got to know when people do not care for you. You got to know when people do not mean you well. And I learn people every day that I deal with. Every day. Trust me. Being a YouTuber has served me very well. It has shown me that everybody's not in your corner and everybody doesn't favor you just from being a YouTuber. And I'm not talking about people in the chat. I'm not talking about even other YouTubers. I'm talking about doing what I do. You can see the hate just from the little comments they make. As this man said in his commentary, beware of the people with the negative comments. Amen. See, everything you do is a journey. And God shows you people and he shows you what they're made of. It's just a matter of will you listen? And we all make mistakes and continue to deal with people when we see something isn't right with them. And you better listen. And I've given this advice to myself as I speak it to you. Everybody's not your friend. Everybody's not supportive of what you're doing. Everybody's not in support of you, period. Know the signs. And in your mind, you may never think that you will end up a Shanquella Robinson or end up like those kids in Idaho, end up like Quentin Simon, but you don't know people. If a person will kill their own child, kill their own friend, then what do you have left? Oh, I won't, sweetheart. What do you have left? Because those are the two things that you thrive on. It's family and friends. So you have a woman that kills her child and a woman who gets killed by her so-called friends. It can't get any worse than that. Because you see, there's no trust out here. You can't logically explain being murdered by your own mother. Your own mother hating you to wish death on you and exact it. You can't imagine your friend hating you enough to kill you or watch you die slowly and never render aid. You see how the two are evenly yoked. Because in this world, you need family, you need friends. You don't have good family, you pray to get good friends. You don't have good friends, you're praying you have good family. Do you see you need both? At some point in your life, you've got to either have one or the other. Shanquella had no friends. Quentin Simon had no family. Stay woke. If you'd like to donate to this great network, $ Big Angie, 129 Cash App. Thank you for the stickers and the chats. God bless all of you. Happy holidays to everybody. Those in America, abroad. I want to thank all my new 1,000 plus subscribers. God is good. Thank you so much for following the content. As I said, I did not want to discuss Shanquella Robinson for obvious reasons, nor did I want to discuss the Idaho 4 because I don't like complex storylines. And those are too complex for me. But I wanted to mention Shanquella in with my Quentin Simon update because I want to show you why you should be grateful today and thankful. The two people are young, under the age of 25 and under the age of 2, didn't make it this Thanksgiving. And they are reasons to celebrate and be humble for life and willful knowledge to do better and be better as a human being, and to heed the signs when something doesn't look right. Please listen, because I do believe in each case both lives could have been spared had somebody intervened. Had somebody intervened in the life of Quentin Simon, he would be alive today. Had somebody intervened in that villa in Mexico, Shanquella Robinson would be alive today. They're both the same. If you see something, say something. Be a part of the solution and not the problem. Mind the children. If you go out shopping this evening, please take somebody with you. Do not shop late. Always have your keys ready before you go to your car. Do not leave parcels on the seats, floorboards. Put everything in your trunk. Do not post your goodies on social media. Do not tell your whereabouts coming and going. Do not talk to strangers while you're out. Do not give change while you're out. Do not open wallets while you're out. Don't hand anybody any money. Don't go anywhere to buy anything. I don't care if it looks good, sounds good. Do not. Carry a crossover bag. Don't carry a big purse while shopping. Carry the crossover bag under a jacket. As to if you get bumped, nobody can go in your purse. That's why you don't carry big purses out when you're shopping. Carry a crossover bag. It's worth a few dollars just to buy a little small crossover bag and put it under your coat, your duster, your jacket, your sweater. As not to get robbed. Always get a receipt. I prefer cash, certain items, because you don't want to have to wait days to get that stuff put back on your cart, your purchases. So carry cash with you. Be aware of your surroundings when you are out tonight and up until Christmas, please. Yes, and do not be on your phone. Your guard is down while running your mouth on that phone in the mall, walking in the parking lot, at your car. Tell people you will talk to them when you are done shopping. Because know that crooks are out in the stores. They're in the mall. They're sitting in the parking lot. They're waiting on that opportunity to catch you slipping. They will be driving in neighborhoods, watching and lurking, looking at people bringing things in and out. And do not think they won't push your door open to take your Xboxes, flat screens. Please be aware of your surroundings. Do not become a victim, because sadly, this content I'm bringing you is only 1% of what actually goes on in America and what will transpire as soon as I shut this computer off. We will have another horrible story. Please do not be that story. Be aware of your surroundings. Talk to your children about friendships, courtships, heeding the signs that people are not behaving appropriately, not treating them appropriately. Don't feel shame to talk to your children. Hey, walk away. Hey, you don't like the way they're talking and acting? Remove yourself. As that man said in his commentary, I just walk away. Hey, walk away. Sadly, this girl had no idea she was walking in death's door when she went down there. And she did not come back out alive, sadly. Prayers for Miss Robinson's family, her parents, because they're grieving right now. Prayers for justice for Quentin Simon. His mother is now incarcerated in Chatham County Jail. No bond. Next court appearance, January 2023. Thank you so much for joining me. And prayers for the Idaho 4. Justice will be served in that case out there. It's a very extensive case. So let's pray for those victims as well. You need to find you something to do. Thank you all so much for joining me. This is Everyday Shenanigans. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.